Hello, welcome to the Satellite Marketcast podcast, where we feature key executives from leading satellite companies worldwide, talk about their company, their careers, industry trends, and other insights on the exciting satellite communication industry. I'm your host, Virgil, Labrador, Editor-in-Chief of Satellite Markets and Research, inviting you to another informative podcast with our featured guest today. So welcome everyone to this edition of the MarketCast podcast, the Global Pandemic Edition. And our guest today is Steve Richeson. He's the Vice President of Mission Microwave. It's a ground equipment manufacturer, and he'll talk about that in more detail later in this podcast. Mission Microwave is based here in California, actually not too far from where I'm at here in Los Angeles, in Santa Fe Springs, California. And Steve is a veteran of the industry, if I may call him that. He's been in the industry for decades, and he's worked for some of the most influential and largest companies in the industry, which among others include Harris, GTE, SpaceNet, Advantech Wireless, and EchoStar. So he's got a pretty broad background in the industry. He's an engineer by training, a Georgia Tech graduate with an MBA also from Georgia State. And he's a fixture at the industry events and conferences. He speaks at some of the conferences, and I've had the privilege of chairing some of the panels that he's been at, and he's always a fountain of good source of information and insight on the industry. So welcome to this podcast, Steve.
Oh, thanks, Virgil. Thanks for having me. It sounds like fun. The pandemic edition of a podcast. How could that not be fun?
Now we're in August 2020 now, and the last time we met was March 2020, roughly 6 months
That's the last time anybody met.
Yeah, met face to face, that is. And it wasn't even a full show. It was 2/3 of a show. The last day was canceled. So how have you been coping so far? What have you been up to? How you've been managing this the restrictions that we all face?
Well, like anybody, we're dealing with it, at best week by week as things unfold, and the understanding of what's going on in the environment just I guess understanding improves week by week. But we know more, and we felt like we knew less in the past. Mm-hmm. It's been very different. It's been a challenge, keeping up with customers just in terms of the logistics of it. The business has been very solid. I'm in danger of getting used to this not traveling part. That could become a problem. Right. But everybody, it's easy to find everyone else too, because they're not traveling either. So right. You just have to be diligent about reaching out to people and making sure you stay in touch, particularly with the lack of industry events. Mm-hmm. My colleagues in the industry, whether they're customers or competitors or just friends over the years, what we find is we have to make the effort to contact each other, because we're used to seeing, like you and I do. We just run into each other, right? 8 times a year. Could be anywhere on the planet. Well, that's not happening now, and so we have to pick up the damn phone.
Yeah, 6 months without the show. This is the longest time I've, in my career. Yeah, I've been reflecting on it. I used to travel even 2-3 times a month, and this is something. So I'm ready for the next one. Give us an update on your company. How have you fared in this environment, and how do you see it emerging out of this?
I won't say it hasn't been a challenge, but I think looking at where we are and what we've been through, particularly in light of the uncertainty, and uncertainty leads to chaos that's been over the whole industry. I think we've actually done very well. I mean, our operations team has done very well in dealing with chaotic supply chain issues, chaotic human resources issues, right? I mean, it doesn't take much. You're in California, it doesn't take much to cause you to send a lot of people home from the plant on any given day. Right. And, dealing with that while maintaining, a very good rate of bookings. Our rate of bookings I haven't really run the numbers recently, but they are, they're between flat and up. can tell you that. They're not down.
Mm, good.
And it's so it's been a challenge to keep up with demand, a growing demand, during this time of very disruptive from both the human resources supply side, the actual supply chain supply side, and our customers have really been great about it, right? I mean, they know the problems, right? I mean, it's not like I'm the first guy who calls them up and says, "Oh, well, COVID-19 is causing this and this and this." They hear it from everybody. They do tell us, for the most part, that we're probably in the 95th percentile in terms of how well we're dealing with it. So we're keeping up, but it's going to change things, right? I think that's one of the questions you gave to me.
Right.
How does that change things? And I think it's certainly, if you look at the way our customers, who are largely terminal manufacturers, deal with us, and we're a component manufacturer, right? We make, block up converters for these SATCOM terminals, and so we're both manufacturers, and people are a lot less enamored with just-in-time manufacturing right now, because you get a wildly chaotic supply chain like we've got at all levels now, and the just-in-time stuff is it's just not working, right? And so I think there's a shift. We've seen our customers do that too, which has helped in their understanding that we're dealing with uncertain supply chain. Other component manufacturers in their value chain are dealing with an uncertain supply chain, and so it's shifted more of from a just-in-time to a no later than kind of manufacturing environment, where our customers are working with me very closely in terms of forecasts now, because they realize that's the only way to overcome this chaos is with planning. So I know that helps for standardized products, and we have a very continuous line of products, so with some common manufacturing technology behind it. So that helps. All that planning helps a great deal in smoothing out the variations in the supply chain. So that's how we're dealing with it, and I think some of those changes are really positive because they make the supply chain more resilient, both temporally and geographically. And I think I can't imagine those changes are going to go away, because they're very positive changes in the supply chain.
Now, last year I visited your facility, and you were in the process of expanding to a building nearby. So how's that process gone?
Yeah, I mean, nearby meaning like across the parking lot. Yeah, we basically doubled our footprint in our facility in Santa Fe Springs, and that's been done for some time now. And of course we had to redo it a little bit more when we sent everybody home. All the people who come from home the whole time. The industry, the world ground to a stop at the satellite show, right? I mean, we sent the engineers home with their desktops, and some of them even had to take the chairs. It looked like we were looting the place.
Has there been a shift, do you see, in the demand for your products as a result of the pandemic? Of course, certain verticals aren't as hot there. Let's say aero and maritime. Oil and gas.
Well, yeah, no surprise. I mean, aviation is is a very consistent and slow market. It's slow to get into. The planning cycles on it are quite long. And we've actually made some progress on the aviation market. We had a customer recently make an announcement. I can't name that customer because they didn't announce it about us, but they had a very positive announcement that involved using our stuff. And so that's moving ahead. On the aviation business, kind of it's a regulated business. It moves pretty methodically anyway. Now, of course, maritime, and I'll couple energy with that because it's very similar equipment for the most part, and some of the same players in both. Of course, that energy is not doing very well. I mean, that's where I started my career, working for Schlumberger in the energy business. I'm very sensitive to how that does. And, I learned early in my career to look at the price of oil every day. And, it's, that business is having a tough time. And, maritime, a lot of uncertainty there. I mean, that still seems like a a solid business. Obviously, it's going to have to redo a lot of stuff. There's going to be some pretty significant refreshing going on in terms of the technology, the platforms, meaning the ships, in that business. Clearly, stuff we were looking at for that business. Okay, it moved well to the right, but I don't think there's anybody who thinks it went to zero. Right? That's still a viable business sector. We work really closely with our partners with it, and I can tell you that the people who are in that business are still working really hard, and they have timing horizons that are very active today. Right? I mean, if you're talking about an upfit to a ship or a fleet of ships to address new services for the upcoming season, I mean, you talk about that and start to buy things a year in advance. Right? Okay,
Right.
and the industry at large is still figuring that we'll be largely on the other side of this pandemic event, in that kind of time frame. So the work still goes on in that business. I won't tell you that the order intensity is real high. It certainly hasn't gone to zero. The mix has changed, but we still see the same excitement about the things we're doing at KA Band, things that are enabling that industry. So,
right. So, do you see any other new opportunities for you, for your company, for your products?
One of the things we get really excited about are things like there's a customer, and it's acknowledged that we're the provider of bucks to these guys at GetSat, who make a really exciting, I'll call it a new class of terminals. Right? If you look at the GetSat terminals, they're very different than stuff that existed in terms of on the moves or aviation terminals just a few years ago, and we're really proud of our contribution to that as being an enabling technology, making a very small, lightweight amplifier to be able to enable those platforms. So that's new stuff, right? That's not me taking market share from one of my competitors. That's a new technology that we enabled, and and you see that throughout the value chain, right? I mean, those antennas have shown up on helicopters, which has been a traditional problem area for Satcom, and they're making some fantastic progress there. So, look, we make a component that goes into that, but it is an enabler, and so we get to watch what they're doing, and throughout the value chain, and some very big players involved in that, and it's pretty exciting for us to see that. So that's one of the new areas, I would say, that hasn't really slowed down because of the pandemic.
So anything else?
Well, new product-wise for us, we announced at the show, although there was hardly anybody there, as you know. So I can tell you again, and it's like it's news, about our 400-watt wideband KA band solid-state amplifier that replaces a 500-watt traveling wave tube amplifier.
Right.
Now, that's pretty exciting stuff. It's a drop-in replacement. It's actually the same size and weight footprint. The power footprint's a little bit different, of course, because it's solid state. And we've got a customer for that, an initial customer, and we had the product at the show. That one's going to take a while. I mean, the industry's been asking for years for a solid state replacement for TWTs in the gateway market, and that's the product for it. But the gateway market's pretty conservative. It doesn't switch overnight. But the product's there. It's solid, and we're really proud of that. That's going to shift our focus a little bit more to the gateway side of the business. I mean, we're doing really well in the terminal side of the business, particularly in the tactical terminal side of the business. We've pretty much won that battle. But on the gateway side, that looks a little bit different, and it's pretty exciting. It'll be a substantial portion of the business, and it's going to be a big part of our growth portfolio for the next 4 years.
Right. Now, talking about growth, your company has grown very quickly. If I recall, you were established in 2014, right? And in a short span of time, you've gained a very good foothold in the key markets. do you see that you're also in a very, very competitive area? You know, there's, as far, last time I counted, there's over, you know, 10 buck manufacturers and a lot of other smaller.
Oh, it depends on the category. We track it and we share the
Yeah.
information with customers. And some categories are 24
Yeah, right,
competitive
right,
manufacturers.
Yeah, because some are OEM and all that. If you count those, then so,
yeah, some of them's hard to count multiple times, right?
right. So, do you see any shakeup in that part of your business as a result? And do you see your market share stabilizing or growing post-pandemic?
It is a very competitive market, but I'd say it's competitive because customers, particularly the customers who are growing and who buy a lot, they're very demanding customers.
Mm-hmm.
And so when a company does show up with what's arguably a superior product in terms of performance or size, weight, and power, or all of that,
Mm-hmm.
we do end up taking share from some of our competitors. But you know, the market's there are lots of layers in the market as well, and sometimes our product isn't the right one for an application, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you've met me at shows, and
Mm-hmm.
I tell you how when people come up to me at an international show and you know, their first question is, you know, how much is that buck?
Right.
I tell them that, well, if price is your primary concern, it's probably not the buck you're looking for.
Mm-hmm. Right. So how do you see it? How do you see moving forward your company? What else can we expect from Mission Microwave?
Well, I mean, we're doing pretty well. More of the same as our customers are successful, right? Many of the areas of success we're in today are relatively early days in those successes. You know, for an example, we get on a terminal or a set of terminals from a manufacturer, and most of the tactical terminal manufacturers use some of our products. Some of them use our products effectively exclusively, meaning that we've got the right answer for their entire product line. So to keep commonality of interfaces and appearance and support, they continue to work with us.
Yeah.
So I think what we are looking at next is following some of the success that our customers have had, and we've had a lot of successes in design wins on our customers' platforms, right? Whether they're tactical terminals or on-the-move terminals or aviation terminals, maritime terminals, et cetera. And those design wins are great, and when we've grown based on those. And I'd say for some of those products, it's pretty early days, right? Some of them are regulated, right? They have to go through government or military certification processes, right? The terminals do, not our product. Our product's designed to support a compliant design. And so we've gotten a lot of design wins, and so we've got some really great customers who work with us really closely to help them come up with a better terminal design. But some of those have just gone through the certification processes, right? I mean, it takes a while to do that, you know, on the order of one or a couple of years. So I think you're going to see a lot more. You're going to see a lot more growth in that business as those terminals get more and more uptake from military users, maritime users, what have you. The sales cycle into that environment, like a little bit like the aviation environment, is kind of regulated, right? And so it takes a lot of time. You have to have a really good product. You have to be able to support the customer as they go through the certification process, which is designed to be a very arduous process, right? It is designed to make terminals fail. So they don't get through that process. So the terminals that do get through that process are really good. And you can take them out in the field and you can be confident. And so those are really big design wins because they tend to be very sticky designs. Because when a new terminal is introduced and a military customer starts to adopt that, they don't like to change too rapidly. So because of the evaluation cost to do that, their switching cost is quite high. So I think the work that's been done over the last few years in getting those design wins, getting those new accounts and customers to depend on us and work really closely with us, you're going to see the fruits of those play out over the next few years.
Right. Right. Now, Steve, you've seen quite a bit of the industry in your career, and you've seen some crises come and go as well. How does this crisis? How do you see the industry emerging out of this crisis that we're in right now?
Well, there's consolidation happening now, right? We've seen
Mm-hmm.
quite a few mergers.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them were planned well before the pandemic, but there's obviously an incentive for customers to look for efficiencies, right? We've seen some mergers, we've seen some bankruptcies, at the customer, at the system operator level, some surprisingly large ones, right? Some restructurings.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so we're going to see that those changes happen all the time in our industry anyway. I think we're seeing a little bit of an acceleration of those, um, and we are seeing customers and competitors start to focus a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
When again, we track very closely what our competitive environment is like, and we redo that a couple of times a year as we go through and survey all of our competitors, download their data sheets, get the publicly available information that we can, make our comparisons. And over the last 18 months, we've seen our competitors actually dropping out of several categories.
Mm-hmm.
Particularly when you get into the KA band area. A lot of people used to play in KA band,
Right.
and not as many people are doing it now, which makes it difficult for our customers, right? I mean, at some level, you need to have some competition so that you can win.
Right.
And customers get really scary when there's only one or two people to buy something from.
Right. 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 All right. Any final thoughts? Anything else that you'd like to add, Steve?
Um, well, one of the things you asked me about the growth areas, and I think the growth in the gateway market for us because of the new products are good, and I think continued growth in HTS, primarily at KA band. HTS we talked a lot about years ago. It's here now, right? There's a lot of high capacity KA band transponders available out there. We're providing our customers are providing terminals using our components on those. I think a continued growth in that. Also, some of the MEO stuff. I'm a big fan of some of the MEO and non-geo kind of applications, including some of the polar applications. Still a little skeptical of the LEO constellations, right? They're way up on the hype curve. I mean, I'm skeptical, but we're involved in it, right? We support those customers,
Right. Right.
and those networks because our technology, and particularly in KA band, is state of the art, really, and those are all state of the art designs. So we're involved in that. I commented on a panel would have been more than 6 months ago now, that that part of our business is non-zero in supporting those business, right? It's a low single-digit mix of our business right now, and I think over the next couple of years that'll probably triple. And so it'll be a high single-digit part of the business, right? It's not a big part of the business. Big part of the business is HTS, geo. We see some MEO stuff happening out there that's real, and we're again we're involved in the LEO constellation stuff. Let's see it actually happen.
Right. Right.
The business models are just really challenging. All the constellations have admitted that they do depend on electrically steerable antennas, known as flat panel antennas, typically to be available to make their business plan successful. And of course, as you know, we won an award in flat panel business, right? For one of our bucks that really enables flat panel applications. So, we're in that as much as anybody is, and like most of the players in it, there's a healthy amount of skepticism about whether that business really takes off or not.
Right. So there's a lot of things, in the industry that gives some rise to optimism.
Oh
right?
yeah, I mean, we're really optimistic about the industry. I mean, this, sure. I mean, 2020 is probably not going to go down as a banner year in anybody's books, right? I mean,
Right.
it's been a tough year. I mean, it'll be a growth year for us still, but not as much as we'd hoped. But it's still a good year. So I'm really optimistic about the industry, right? I mean, what the industry provides is clearly needed. The industry provides a lot of efficient solutions. Those solutions are getting better and applicable to more markets. Again, like the SATCOM on helicopter thing, right? That can be pretty big, right?
Right.
And people have struggled with that for years. How do you enable that? And that's pretty exciting. That's new, right? And it's not, doesn't get a lot of hype about it like Leos or anything like that, but that's real exciting growth. People are spending some money on that, doing a lot of hard math to make that work, and making some innovative products to enable it. And the users are really excited about it because it was needed. And so there are more of those niches out there, and the industry's adapting to them. We're really excited to be an enabler for part of that. So yeah, I'd be really upbeat about the industry. And as you talk to everybody in the industry too. I have a lot of colleagues in the industry, and again, tough year.
Right.
But I don't think anybody in the satellite industry is willing to hang it up just yet.
Yeah. Yeah. It's tough year, but we've been through other tough years, and
oh sure, yeah, with the tough years. I mean, look, we come out of this is a classic recovery model, right? Okay,
right.
we come out of this. There are these other, the technology has improved, so we can enable things, right? And that haven't been adopted globally yet. We'll probably come out of this like we did in the 80s with a cheaper dollar, right?
Right.
That's always been great for the SATCOM hardware business in the U.S. There's some positive reasons to look ahead for this business.
Right. Well, that's a good way to end this. Actually, it's good to hear that, and I look forward to seeing you again in a future show. Yeah. So thanks very much, Steve, for all your insights. And
well, thanks, Virgil. I was happy to be here for Mission Microwave. It's been a great 3 years with the company, and I hope we can keep it going.
Right. So Steve Richeson from Mission Microwave, a company that we're looking very carefully into. And for all the news and information in the global satellite industry, you always have www.satellitemarkets.com. As well as our YouTube channel, Satellite Marketcast, where this podcast will be on, and among other things. So, thanks again, Steve. And thanks to you all,
thanks, Virgil.
for our listeners.